All right. Welcome everyone. We are just, a minute or two past 7 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome all of you to our Cancer Health webinar. We're so excited to have you here and have this really great informative conversation about, healing, alternative therapies and nutrition when it comes to dealing with a cancer diagnosis. And Kahiki is going to be presenting to us. She's got lots of great information to share, and also perhaps a special guest as well who we're going to hear from. So Kahiki is a certified integrative nutritionist and wellness coach with an emphasis in psychology, and she approaches health and healing as a mind-body experience and also as a well-rounded, taking the whole person into consideration. So I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself a little more than that and go ahead and start us off.
I just wish you would introduce me everywhere I went because I had like a one-liner, so that was so much better. But simply put, I use food as medicine. And I truly believe that it is our first medicine. And if you think about it, we administer that medicine at least 3 times a day. So that's pretty powerful when you think about how much we're putting into our body. So should I be sharing my screen at this point?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and share, especially that title slide.
Okay. It's exactly what you said. We're harnessing the power of food. So you will see me. Yes, I'm going to talk about food a lot, but there's other therapies that can definitely help support and encourage healing as well that I feel need to be spotlighted. So I want to give awareness to that as well. So, and there's somebody else in the waiting room. So just curious, who here in attendance, and I can't see everybody, so maybe you guys just mention it in the chat, but who here in attendance is in support of a loved one with cancer? And then who here has cancer? Okay. Just to help me get a feel of what's out there and then who I'm talking to and what the background is and the need. So, yeah, like I said, my whole job is I help restore balance by using food as medicine. And I am not here to tell you what your healing journey should look like. That's not my place. My reason for being here today is to bring to your awareness information and therapies that can actually help accelerate your healing. And it is up to you to decide what you do with this information and to use your intuition on what's going to be best for you. So something I always say is knowledge gives you power because it gives you choices. And perhaps, hopefully by the end of this, you will realize you had a lot more choices than maybe you initially thought. And that is empowering to know. So that's what I'm trying to leave you with today. Hopefully it's not overwhelm, right? I want to empower you with choices for your healing. So now you guys might know who Chris Wark is. I heard that you guys actually heard him talk, or he showed up to one of your meetings. Andrea told me that, and I'm quite jealous about it. But how cool is that you heard from the cat's mouth? So this is his quote, and who better to say it than someone who is healed from cancer himself, stage 3 colon cancer, right? And he said, cancer is not something you fight, it's something you heal. All cancer is really it's an imbalance in the body. Imbalance so it can be in a healing state. And so everything I'm going to talk about today is all about getting your body back to balance, or homeostasis is the fancy word for that. So regardless of the approach you choose to take, Food, again, is your first and most powerful medicine that cannot be overlooked. Everything you put in your body. And you've heard this quote before, it either fights or feeds it, and that is so true. When we are bringing in the correct foods, we actually support our body's natural healing mechanisms and promote healing. So our bodies are quite amazing. If we could see what's going on in our bodies at all times and how it's always working for us, and maybe you don't feel like that right now, and that's okay, but it's actually sustaining you more than you realize. And it is trying to get you back to a state of health. So the things I'm going to show you today is going to help you help your body in that process. You got to become your body's best friend. So it can support, if you support it, it can better support you and your healing. Aligning you with your body really is what this is. Okay. So when we're bringing in the correct food, like I said, we promote healing. The opposite can be said, obviously, when we eat processed acidic foods that our body does not recognize. Now, this is not to ever make anyone feel guilt or shame. I will tell clients this day and night. Those two things, guilt and shame, can never be a part of a healing journey because words have energy. And the energy of those words is not loving or supportive. And that's why I say it cannot be a part of your healing journey. Grace can be a part of your healing journey. I want you to replace guilt and shame with grace and love. And maybe love is foreign to you. I know a lot of people struggle with that, with self-love. Maybe it was never demonstrated to you. So maybe for now it's grace. Maybe we start there. But guilt and shame is low energy. It is not healing energy. Okay? So how would you treat a sick fish? Option number one, or theory one, you can medicate the fish, but leave it in dirty water. Okay? Option two, or theory two, is you clean the tank, but you provide the fish with pure water. And then the third option is you medicate and you clean the water. What I'm trying to show you today is that, as you can see, if we medicate the fish, we cannot leave it in dirty water if we want it to heal long term. We have to remove it from its toxic environment so true healing can take place and be maintained. Even if medication or any kind of medical procedure may be possibly needed, I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. It could be. So theory three, where maybe we need both, that's possible. But either way, whether we do theory two or theory three, we can't leave the fish in the dirty water. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, if we are to heal, we cannot stay in the same environment that made us sick. And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about stressors in our life, chronic stressors, toxic relationships, anything that was a culprit to imbalance. By design, our body is actually programmed to keep us in a state of health and balance. Like I said, that's called homeostasis. So it's always trying to get you back to that set point. But sometimes these outside factors can knock us out of balance, like chronic, unmanaged stress or acidic, nutrient deficient foods. That's the American diet right there. Or unhealthy, toxic relationships. I could go on and on and on, right? No shame or guilt here. Once again, those aren't part of your healing journey. So I ask this next question only to bring about awareness. Were any of these factors, chronic stress, toxic relationships, unhealthy foods, were any of them consistently present in your life prior to your diagnosis? Now, you don't need to reply. That is for you to think on, because there was something that knocked you out of balance. Because again, your body's natural state is balance and health. So something knocked you out. And that's the root cause. And that's what I'm wanting you to think on. What was that? And maybe you need to think longer, because I'm asking you to uproot something that might be uncomfortable, and I acknowledge that. So maybe that's something you revisit later, and maybe you write it down. For some people, that's very powerful to journal or write it down. But at some point, it needs to be uprooted, whatever it was that created the imbalance. That's part of your healing, okay? But symptoms, that's our way, or that's your body's way of letting you know it cannot keep up with whatever the demand is. So our symptoms have a root cause, and that's what I'm asking you to take a look at. And if we find ourselves in a state of dis-ease, we have to retrace our steps and ask ourselves 3 questions. When did I start to notice an imbalance? How was my body communicating that to me? In other words, when was I getting headaches? Was I noticing an imbalance in my gut? Was there inflammation throughout my body? Whatever that is, that's your body talking to you, okay? And then the third question, what were my stressors at that time? All very much worth digging up and addressing, because it's part of your healing. Oh, and you guys didn't think I'd go in so deep so fast, but I have to go there before I talk about nutrition, because that's almost more important. That's why I went there right away. Now you guys are like, she's done. She made us uncomfortable, right? She told you that I also have psychology in my background, so she warned you a little bit. That I won't go too much further than that on the psychology part of it, but it does need to be addressed. I have to acknowledge it. More importantly, you need to for your healing, okay? So now we're ready to talk about nutrition, okay? So let's talk about energy and healing promoting nutrition. If I had to guess, some of you are feeling not very energetic lately. Your body's trying to heal. So a lot of that energy is going towards healing. And that can take a lot out of you. And if any of you are going through treatments, that can take even more out of you. So I acknowledge that. And that is why I'm telling you these foods provide your cells in your body with energy. This is how you eat for energy. But the beauty of eating these kinds of foods, which is the foods that were designed for your biology, the beauty of eating this way is it addresses several things. It's not just energy food. It's immune boosting foods, which you also very much need right now. It's healing food. It's gut restoration food. And we all know gut is the root of health as well. So when you eat the correct foods, you're not just addressing one thing. It's the beauty of eating this way, okay? So maybe this term is new to some, but I'm going to talk a little bit about acidic versus alkaline foods, okay? And when we eat, so when I say alkaline foods, I'm talking about plant-based or plant foods. That's a lot of what you'll see here. And that you can see in the list the difference between the two. It's pretty, I mean, to summarize, acidic foods is the American diet. And this is where I have immense compassion for everybody in the United States, because we are immersed and bombarded by a toxic food industry. And you almost have to go out of your way to eat the right foods for yourself. Add in the stressors now. The amount of stress that we face is not normal. So our bodies, they were never designed to take in as many toxins from these foods. And I say foods, really I'm talking about fake foods, processed foods, fried foods, right? That our food industry pushes out. And I'm also talking about the chronic stress levels now that society is labeled as the norm. None of this is normal. and our bodies don't respond to it very well. So we have to prioritize time every day to offload and de-stress that. So when we eat a processed diet, which is again the standard American diet, which is kind of funny because it's abbreviated SAD for a reason. Okay, that's a diet high in sugar and unhealthy fats and simple carbs. That's acidic foods. On a cellular level, this actually, now I'm going to get nerdy a little bit. Andrea knows I can't help myself, but I do think that it helps to know what's going on inside of our bodies. So hopefully the next time we see these foods, having this awareness makes, I don't know about you, but it makes me think twice when I know what's going to happen inside my body if I put it in my mouth. So on a cellular level, when we eat these acidic foods, and you can see them listed there, it thickens our blood, or it's called blood sludge for a reason, and it causes our cells to stick together, and it makes it hard for oxygen to get to our tissues and organs. This creates an acidic environment in our body, which can make us more susceptible to disease. This is inflammatory. Okay, and for those with cancer, it can allow it to spread more easily. So an acidic environment is spreading grounds for cancer, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so when we bring in more greens, on the other hand, we are bringing in more what's called chlorophyll. Okay, that is a key word right there, and it is something I personally supplement for cell health, exclamation mark. Okay, and it's a major blood cleanser. So when you reach for greens, you are cleaning your blood. You're doing the opposite of making your blood thick, right? So you're cleansing and you're purifying it. Not just greens, which is some of the best, but plant foods in general. Okay, so look at all the alkaline foods listed there. Those are the foods I'm talking about. The cream of the crop are the greens, but all of those there, those are alkaline foods as well. We accelerate this if we drink our greens and our veggies and these foods here, which I'll get into in a little bit. And when we eat these foods, we help separate our red blood cells and get more oxygen through our tissues and our organs. And that creates an alkaline healing environment. That is the opposite of acidic. So acidic disease, alkaline healing. So you can get where I'm trying to go with this. We're trying to swing our bodies out of an acidic state to a healing alkaline state. Okay, so keep in mind that yes, some cancers may still grow in alkaline environments. However, an alkaline environment decreases inflammation and it improves your body's natural healing mechanisms and boosts the immune system significantly. And in order to fight cancer, you have to have your immune system working in your favor. That's one of the first things. So eating this way does that as well. Okay. So if you need to, by the way, any of you feel free to screenshot any of these slides. I designed them so you can do that for your information because, and the reason I'm doing this and I'm not charging is because I know how hard it is to find this information online. I actually, in my perfect world, I wish oncologists would teach you this upon diagnosis, because if they did, your chances of healing would be sped up and increase significantly. That's why I'm here. And I don't charge for this, because this information is that powerful. And you're going to hear from somebody that healed doing all of the things I'm going to talk about today. Okay. So again, this is for you. Screenshot any of this. Now I am actually going to send Andrea a recipe for a soup called Hippocrates soup. And that soup is made out of a lot of these, actually specifically potatoes, celery, leeks, tomatoes, onions, garlic, and parsley. The nickname for that soup is alkaline or potassium soup. Potassium is one of your most alkalizing minerals. That is one I would supplement if I was you. Okay. But I'm going to have her send you that recipe. That is one I would regularly keep in the mix in your diet. But keep in mind though, cells primarily use glucose or sugar and omega-6 fats, which are inflammatory, unhealthy fats for growth. So eating this way actually starves cancer of its preferred fuel source because it's naturally lower in processed sugars and carbs, unhealthy fats, and toxins. So it's detoxing, it's anti-inflammatory, it's immune boosting, and it heals your gut. So real talk, I let you guys breathe for a minute because that was a lot of information really quick. Who here is feeling like eating this way is extreme and it can't be maintained? And you know what, in this environment, I would think it was crazy if no one felt that way. That's just real if you do. And that is okay. And when we are in such a toxic food environment, it does seem extreme to eat this way. But what the truth of it is the toxic food environment is extreme from the way that we are actually meant to eat. And so I'm trying to help you rewire that thinking. Okay. They've made it extreme the other way. So a lot of times when I meet with clients that have cancer and they're like, you're asking me to do what? Go plant-based? That's crazy. By the way, side note, so the person you are going to hear from today is my mom. She's here and she healed naturally doing all of this. And when we said, hey, you're going to have to go plant-based, if she's sitting there laughing because it half Polynesian. So that's coming from a half Polynesian family going plant-based. So if anybody can do it, okay, if a Polynesian family can do it, but I'm not saying you have to do it forever. I'm saying until balance is restored and healing takes place. Okay, that's what I'm saying. But honestly, and so I did it with her. That's the other part of this. I knew it was a tall order for her. And I knew she would need support. I said, okay, sign me up. We're both crazy. We're going to do this together. Sign me up. So I've experienced it myself. And even as health conscious I was, I know what it's like. It's intense. I get it. But it worked. Spoiler alert, she healed. It worked. Okay. There's going to be proof at the end of this. So hang with me. Okay. So here are your liquids. I hope you're snapping pictures because I made these pretty for a reason. I thought you probably just thought I was going to say water. No, you're going to be juicing a lot. That is one of your most powerful medicine right there. But why juicing? Why not smoothies? I need the fiber. Yes, you need fiber, but when you need the nutrients in your cells quick, juicing is powerful. Without the fiber, it's in your cells within 15 to 20 minutes, your cells and your blood. And that is where cancer is. And that is why juicing is so powerful. And when I say juice, I'm talking 10 to 12 times a day. And everything here needs to be organic. Part of this is offloading toxins. Your body, you got to think of it this way. Your body's in a state of imbalance. It's already trying to fight off a disease or an imbalance. So to bring in toxins is putting on more of a burden. That's the last thing we want to do to your body right now. And that's why I'm stressing organic. Now, when you buy food, you don't have to go organic on bananas. You're not eating the peel. I would say the same thing about avocados. But where you eat the skin of it, go organic where you can. Okay, so I'm giving you, these are the only 2 juicing recipes she used. These are very alkaline juices, and they were alternated throughout the day. And look how easy that is. And by the way, you're going to love that apple carrot juice. That's a treat. The green juice, I actually didn't think it was bad at all. Now you'll notice there's a lot of things in the cabbage family in there. On the top of the list, along with greens, is cruciferous veggies. Those are some of the most alkaline veggies that you can eat. So you have your cabbage, you have Swiss chard. So, and you have your greens, so you're getting your chlorophyll in there. You can see how that's medicine right there. That's literally your medicine that you're drinking. A pill can't give you that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not anti, there's a place for medicine, but a pill cannot mimic what those juices are going to give you and do for your cells and your inflammation and your healing. Now the teas, herbal green tea. Now these you're getting, let's see, the high in the, have you guys heard of Essiac tea? Okay, that's a very powerful tea for cancer because it's actually nicknamed the cancer curing tea for a reason. It's a blend of 4 American Indian herbs: the burdock root, turkey rhubarb root, slippery elm bark, and sheep sorrel. I know that's probably a foreign language to you guys. That's medicine. Those are powerful medicine, and they are potent in antioxidants, and they stimulate the immune system. Also very detoxifying and anti-inflammatory. That's why it's the recommended tea for those with cancer. Essiac tea. Green tea as well because of the antioxidants. Okay, very anti-inflammatory. And a bonus is the L-theanine in green tea for anyone that's struggling with mental health, namely anxiety. L-theanine is great for that in green tea. 2 birds, 1 stone. Now water, always filtered. Again, we don't want to add in toxins. Your body doesn't need the extra burden right now. So the point is you're going to be very conscious with what you bring into your body. Everything you bring in needs to go towards your healing. It's always going to be a deposit towards your healing and restoring balance. And if it's not a deposit, it's doing the opposite, right? So everything has an intention of healing. With water, now keep in mind, you're going to get a lot of water from your juices naturally, because these, in your apple and carrot juice, in your green juice, naturally there's water in some of those vegetables and fruit. And you'll find that it actually keeps you pretty full when you're drinking that many juices. So that actually counts for some of your water. Your teas, you're making that with filtered water. That counts for some of your water. But when you do drink water, ideally, it will be alkaline or O3, ozone. It's interchangeable. It's called ozone or O3 water. Oxygenated water is another way of saying it. Okay, and I'll actually give you places where you can find that in a minute here. And the reason for that is you need more oxygen in your body right now. Cancer deprives your cells of oxygen, which also contributes to an acidic environment. It also contributes to inflammation. Anybody that has a disease, especially cancer, there is some inflammation there. So you counter that. One of the ways to counter that, eating this way, yes, but also oxygen. So I'll go more into that here in a second. Okay. So hopefully this is not the first time you've heard about fasting and detoxing. Nobody wants to do this part, and I get it. Nobody's going to like me for this part, and I get it. But we've got to lean into the hard before it gets better. We really do. Our body is extremely intelligent, and it has a built-in healing process that supports cellular repair. A lot of us don't even know this. And we can turn that on. We have the power of turning that on simply by fasting. So we encourage it by putting our body into a state of what's called autophagy. That's that word you're going to see there, where it says fasting 24 to 48 hours. That stimulates autophagy, which means now your cells begin to clean up and repair damage. That is pretty dang cool, that our body's capable of doing that. And all we need to do is fast in order to turn that on. Okay. And you guys are like 24 to 48 hours. That's asking a lot. But look at what it's doing. Look at the trade-off. Now, I'm not telling you that you can't have anything. While you're fasting, I'm going to tell you there are certain teas that you can drink. You can add in minerals and potassium. There's certain things you can do, and I'll get to that in a second. So you won't feel totally depleted. There's a correct way to do this, or you may pass out and end up in the hospital and say, oh, so-and-so told me to do this. Please don't do that. Okay? I'm going to tell you how to do this correctly without ending up in the hospital. But you got to understand how important this is, and that is in your power, repairing your cells. If you can make it up to 72 hours, even longer, now you start regenerating your immune system as well. And you know how important that is right now when your body is trying to fight off cancer. So hang with me, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. Okay. Remember that physically speaking, your healing starts on a cellular level. This is why I am going here. This is why fasting and detoxing are so important. So here's how I recommend you fast. Days 1 through 3, so you're almost prepping yourself before you even get to the actual fast. Okay, you prep your body, and you do that by juicing. So those 2 juicing recipes that you saw on the previous slide, you're going to alternate between them. That's all you're going to be doing for 3 days. You're going to juice, and you're not going to take any of your supplements, because as you know, if you take some supplements on an empty stomach, that can upset your stomach. That's too much on your GI, on your stomach. Okay, so it's just juicing for 3 days. Then day 4 is when you start your actual fast. And what that looks like is you can drink water and or teas that are non-calorie, like the Essiac tea mentioned, rosemary, herbal green tea, peppermint, and chamomile. Those are going to be your go-to teas during your fast. And in those teas, you can add in, and I highly recommend you add in liquid minerals. They're called concentrates, TRACE, liquid minerals. They're liquid form. You add those in. That'll help you from feeling lightheaded. Okay. You add those into your, and you will add that in along with, in every 2 cups of water and or tea, 1/8 of a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. That provides your body with enough electrolytes and minerals to sustain you through your fast. That's how you do it correctly. How long do you do it? How long can you do it? Now, your body will let you know when it's reached its limit, and you need to pay attention to that. So that means if you are starting to throw up, you're done. But what I will tell you is the more you fast, the more you heal, the longer you will be able to go. Really interesting to see. I've seen it. As your body begins to heal, it can tolerate it more and more. So when is somebody that is really out of balance, they will probably start to not feel great soon into the fast. But then I've seen some people make it to a week. Same person that got sick in the beginning, over time made it to a week. as their healing progressed. So listen to your body is what I'm telling you. Your body will let you know its tolerance level, what it can do in that moment at that time. But go back and revisit fasting often is what I'm telling you. Okay. And that's how you do it correctly. Okay. Now, when you're coming off of the fast, I do recommend you do a day of juicing. And then a day after that, smoothies. So you're preparing your stomach for solids again. Then you're ready for the foods previously mentioned. By the way, it's not just those foods. Those were the cream of the crop. Plant foods are great. So I'm all for plant-based organic foods. And that could take up so many slides. So that's why you only saw one slide. I gave you the cream of the crop. Okay. I hope you didn't think that that's all you could eat. I should have clarified that in the beginning. Okay. So when it comes to detoxing, I'm not going to have you do anything crazy here because the way you eat is detoxifying. And it'll help clear out toxins and improve nutrient absorption. Side note, Andrea and I are collaborating in June, and we're doing a guided 14-day detox. If you want to accelerate that process, where it is teas, smoothies, and a meal plan we put together. So I'll let her give you that information either later or email or whatever. But eating this way is detoxifying. Coffee enemas, now this is the not so glamorous part of detoxing, but it has to be talked about because it will further support your liver and your colon, which is huge when you're detoxing. Okay, so it helps excrete toxins from the liver and colon. So if you're going to do coffee enemas, you can keep doing them when you're fasting, but you will decrease them. And when I say decrease, I'm talking 1 to 3 times a day. You're like, how many times do you recommend then? We'll get there. But it's all part of detoxing and getting your body back into balance. Okay. The next part, and there's a reason I'm doing it in a specific order. Now that you've done all that, you're ready to address your deficiencies. Because guess what? If you tried to do this before you detoxed, you wouldn't absorb all the nutrients that I'd tell you to eat, right? So there's a reason I did it in that order. So I'm really hesitant to give a slide of recommended supplements because this really needs to be customized to each individual. So this is, I have to give a disclaimer. If you're on any medications or going through any treatments, you need to run it by a doctor. It could interfere because these are medicinal. These are vitamins, minerals, and herbs, and they are powerful. They are medicinal, so they can interfere with those things. So take a picture, run it by your doctor. And honestly, doctors don't get much training in nutrition, so they might look at you cross-eyed, like, what are you talking about? But you just got to double check anyway. Okay. But these are some that, I mean, usually with my clients with cancer have quite the list. I don't like to give people long lists, but cancer is an imbalance that needs a lot of attention, right? So, and obviously I recommend each of you get your blood work done to test for deficiencies so you know exactly what you need to be supplementing for. So that would obviously be on your own personal list, but these are big players. Turmeric, curcumin, very anti-inflammatory. I take that myself. It's also brain health. So it's also, and then let's see, vitamin C, I would actually recommend some of these liquid form because where you can take it liquid form, you're bypassing digestion and you're going to be able to absorb more of it. Vitamin C is one of those because, again, you need to boost your immune system quite a bit right now. So go ahead and take a picture of that. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. The alkalizing minerals is worth paying attention to. Okay. For pain management, I like to do it as toxin-free as possible. And that means CBD. And to get it in your system quickly, I like to do drops under the tongue. With or without THC is your preference. THC is the feeling of high. If you're uncomfortable with that, they make it without as well. That's fine. There's also CBD cream, so you can do it internally with the drops, and then wherever it is, the pain is externally, you can put the cream and get it from both inside and outside. And I've known that to work well for clients. You will see a link there or a website there of a place that I recommend going to for that. Okay. I need to wrap this up because I want you to hear from Andrea and my mom. Lastly, alternative therapies. I realize that some of this may look crazy to you. Bear with me. Like one of them looks like they're going to Mars. I get it. I have actually done all of these except one, which is the lymphatic full body massage machine, but I've done a lymphatic massage. They're two different things, but same outcome. Okay, vitamin C IV, awesome way to boost your immune system. Literally an IV going right into your veins, and you're getting a high dose of vitamin C. Where I would say you need to hesitate is, and your doctor may tell you this, and I know this from experience, past clients going through chemo. Vitamin C can actually interfere with the effectiveness of chemo and or radiation. So if you are in treatments or about to go into treatment, be mindful of that and run that by your doctor. Okay. That said, if you go through treatment afterwards, I would definitely boost your immune system, because one of the side effects of chemo and radiation is it kind of wipes out your immune system. So it's going to need a boost after. So that's something I would prioritize after, along with juicing, because if any of you have been through any of those things, especially chemo, it can make you feel really nauseous and not want to eat. You may not even want to get out of your bed. So maybe the most you can get in your stomach is a juice, and that's powerful nutrients right there. That's better than nothing. And when it's a juice, there's no fiber, so it's easy on your digestive system. That's a great idea always, but especially after you've gone through treatments. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. That's 100% oxygen being pushed into your cells. And let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The air you breathe is not even 30% oxygen. I'm talking about breathing in 100% oxygen. You will leave feeling like $1,000,000. I have my clients, not just with cancer, do this, but with autoimmune. Anybody that's recovering from any kind of inflammatory condition. We even at my wellness center have clients with severe depression do it for brain health, because now we're getting oxygen into their brain. It's powerful. I personally do it myself because I have access to it. I'm an athlete and it helps me recover. Alkaline ozone water. You heard me talk about that before. This is essentially another way to get oxygen into you. Whether you're in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber or you're drinking the oxygen, one way or the other, preferably both, but at least one way or the other, if you can get oxygen into your cells, that is awesome. You're increasing your chances of healing. You're decreasing your inflammation. You're getting oxygen into your starving cells. Okay, you're going to feel good. So another way to do that is to drink the oxygen. This place actually gives you filtered, oxygenated water. And they're in Salt Lake. I hope you take a picture of this, because I include all the different places you can go to get this if you're local. Red light therapy. Now Upgrade Labs, they have both red light therapy and the lymphatic full body massage machine. Okay, so the red light therapy actually increases your energy, meaning if we're getting nerdy again, the ATP of your cells, that's the energy. It increases blood flow and oxygen, meaning it widens the blood vessels, and it reduces inflammation. With the lymphatic full body massage machine, that's the one where she looks like she's in a spacesuit, okay? It supports the efficiency of the lymphatic system to expel toxins and improve the immune system. Your lymphatic system is a big part of detoxing. That's why that's so important. You can actually get a massage as well. So there are specialized lymphatic massages you can get as well from a massage therapist that specializes in it. So one way or the other. And then lastly is the infrared sauna. There's a place in South Jordan. It's same company, Pure Sweat Studios, but they have 2 locations, South Jordan and Salt Lake. And that will help detox, improve cell health and wound healing. So if you've just gone through some chemo radiation, that's a great idea. Same with anytime I have a client that has just gone through treatment, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is a must as well. Side note there, because it helps heal faster. And then it also increases immunity. You're starting to see a common denominator with all these therapies. And honestly, those people don't look tortured, do they? It might look weird, but they're actually, I've done them all. You can sleep, grab a book. I love it. I'm an introvert, so I don't mind being locked up by myself somewhere. So I can save, the other stuff's not big. This is really the last part of it, truly, and kind of going back to part 1 of it, of what I talked about. Whatever brings you peace, do more of it. Prescription number 1. Bring more peace in your life. That includes people. That includes your environment. Be extra stingy about those things right now because it will affect your healing. Get very, very selective about it. Now more than ever. Make sure they're on board with your healing. Or they got to go. You can't negotiate that anymore. Okay? You got to anchor in your why. This is so key. You've got to have a solid why, because when you are if you go through treatments, or let's say you do it the holistic way, and you even going through fasting and you're feeling not great in the thick of fasting, you better have a good why. Revisit that why, and you write it in a journal tonight. You're going to need to revisit it, and you got to anchor deep in it. Okay? All of it is paramount to your healing. That is your first medicine before any of this. And I will say an important part of your healing is to begin releasing suppressed emotions and managing your stress again. Because negative emotions like anger or resentment are actually acidic to our body. And stress impairs our gut and weakens the immune system. Emotions actually become chemicals. They're not just emotions ever. They become chemicals in our body that either support or interfere with our healing. So get the additional support and help you need, and be shameless about it, unapologetic about it at this point. Okay. And so all that said, I actually want to introduce you to our next guest. She does not like to be spotlighted, so it took a lot to get her here. So everybody else calls her Patty. I call her Mom. And she did all of the things mentioned in these slides. I'm going to start crying because it's my mom, guys. I witnessed her go through it all. I asked a lot of her. Her healing demanded a lot of her. And this is why I have such compassion, because I know it's going to ask a lot of you guys, no matter how you choose to do it. But she's proof that it can be done. And that's why I wanted her here, because she's proof that there's hope and that healing is possible. And I know that when you hear that C word, everybody thinks that's it. And I'm telling you, it's not. So that I want to, I'm going to let her take over from here. I also want to ask Andrea these same questions because what's cool about both of them is my mom is like the fish number 2 and Andrea's fish number 3. If we go back to the first, was it the second slide? So my mom did the holistic approach, and she's going to explain why she chose to do it that way, where she just wanted to do nutrition first. Now, so you know, the other options weren't completely off the table. The deal she kind of made with us and the doctor was, if after a while we don't see anything improve, I might entertain the other options, right? Chemo or radiation. He really wanted her to do radiation. And she's like, let's see if nutrition works first. I want to try that first. But it kept working. And then it kept working. And then it kept working. And the whole time there was pushback, let me tell you. So that's her story, and she healed. And then Andrea, her story and her journey was she needed to do both. She needed to do some surgery, but she cleaned the water too. So I love that we have both perspectives here. So I want to hear from both on, I mean, I know everybody wants to know, what was your cancer? What was your stage? How long ago? Let's get all that out of the way. Are you unmuted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kahiki, before Patty talks, will you unshare your screen?
Oh, yes.
So we can see you guys. And then do you
There we
want to just talk to her first and then me after?
Okay, yeah, we can do
Or
that.
do you want me to spotlight myself now too?
Whatever works best for everybody else. We can do both.
Okay.
Well, okay, let's start with Patty. It's weird to call you Patty because you're my mom, but to everybody else, she's Patty. So again, how long ago were you diagnosed, and what kind of cancer and what stage? And then what led you to take the approach that you did towards your healing?
Okay. So in 2019, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 1. They found it during a back surgery. And I thought I was eating pretty healthy up until that point. But backing up, I had some stressors in my life following up to that. And I think, suppressed, lost 2 children, took care of my mom with Alzheimer's. There's a lot that had been suppressed. And I truly believe that added to my state of health, truly. I, years before, Kahiki had introduced me to a docuseries called The Truth About Cancer. And it talked about other alternatives, natural alternatives. And it just opened my mind to doing things naturally. One of the spotlights was the Gerson therapy. And I just had this personal, this strong feeling that if I were ever to be diagnosed with cancer, that's what I would do. And I just knew it in my head, even though I wasn't, entertaining the idea of having cancer. So when the diagnosis came along, that's the first thing that came to my mind, that I needed an oncologist just as an intake to do the testing and whatnot. And I did get a lot of pushback, and it's very fear driven. And I don't blame the oncologist. That's all they know. They don't know how to heal naturally. They're not taught that. There's not maybe 2 weeks of medical school in nutrition. So that's how I ended up going with the Gerson therapy.
And then what was, I'm going to swing it over to you, Andrea, if you're okay with me doing that. Curious to know how long ago were you diagnosed? What kind of cancer, what stage, and then what led you to take the approach you did towards your healing?
Yeah, my diagnosis was in 2001. So I'm just about at the 2.5-year mark. Found during a regular mammogram, breast cancer, and came as a complete shock, was not thinking that was anywhere on my radar. But what was really fascinating, and this is kind of interesting, with what you just said, Patty. A really good friend of mine had been diagnosed earlier that year with breast cancer. Hers was very aggressive and big lump, and she was going for a double mastectomy. And so just a few months before my mammogram, I had this thought in my head, well, what would I do? If that's ever what happens to me, what would I do? So it's really fascinating. So I had a little bit of time to kind of consider it, but it wasn't real. And at the time, I knew enough about me that I did not have that patience to sit and take it a natural direction without doing a surgery also. I knew that my anxiety would kick in, that I wouldn't be able to rest. And also surgery was, this is going to be a funny word to say, but easy. The place where my surgery is an easy place to get to. I guess I'll say that. Having a breast removed seemed like the best option for me at the time. But as anyone who gets into this journey knows, that the train just starts moving, and it's moving fast, and all those doctors want to tell you what to do, and everyone comes at you with, and then your own nervousness sets in. And so to actually slow down and have a moment to think about what you actually want to do seems really tough. But I did choose surgery, which was way more than what any of my doctors said I had to do. And they thought that was a bit aggressive on my part, but I wanted to avoid chemo and radiation. I thought that that was the best of all my options. And so far it's been the best choice that I've made. So I had surgery with no other drug intervention. Did I answer all your questions?
And did you, and then what was, for both of you, I'll start with you, Patty. Did you have support in your decision?
In my immediate family, yes. And I'm so grateful for that. In my extended family, I have a dear sister that I'm very close with, and she was just scared to death that I would do this natural thing, that it was so off the wall for her. And so, and I tried to explain, and you can't explain. It's your own body, it's your own stewardship. You have to have your own convictions, and sometimes you can't explain that to others. But my immediate family, yes. My children, my husband, who's wonderful. I mean, very supportive. Kahiki was an angel. I couldn't have done it without her. It was during COVID too, so it was the worst time to have your immune system shot, right? So she did all my shopping. She came over and did juices for me. I was still working 40 hours a week, working from home, but working. And so I had great support.
But you guys, she did birth me, so I will always owe her more.
Naturally. I
There is that. And Andrea, how was your support? Or was there support?
Unfortunately, we had just moved to Utah. We hadn't even been here 6 months when I went for that mammogram. And so I had just moved away from all my support networks, other than my husband. And I hadn't quite made friends here yet. So really my one person really was my husband. And his attitude was whatever I wanted, he would support. That doesn't mean he didn't have questions, that he didn't want to understand. And I'm the type that wants to really understand everything. And so I asked my surgeon so many questions. I did a lot of thinking and talking. A big source of support for me was I used to cook for cancer retreats, which is very interesting. So I've been around an unusual amount of people who've had cancer. And so I looked to them, anyone who had had breast cancer. I, hit the Facebook and social media and started just asking, like, please tell me everything. So that was incredibly supportive, going to people who had been through this before. But really, yeah, it was really primarily me and my husband. And then, some remote family members too.
Awesome. So I heard there was some pushback with both. I can tell you from sitting through some appointments with my mom, the doctor never, every single appointment, there was pushback, every single one. It took some grit, but what I want to say to all of you is whatever you choose to do, like you're hearing from my mom and Andrea, that's your healing. And you really don't have to justify what you feel your intuition is telling you to do for your own healing. I know that often people feel like they have to explain themselves to everybody, and that got exhausting, and that was a stressor. So I just thought that was worth pointing out, because I'm glad you both had, to some level, some support. But yeah, there was still a lot of pushback, I know, with my mom. So it does take some grit, that's for sure. But you don't have to justify to everyone and add that stressor into your life as to why you choose to do whatever it is you choose to do. Next question is, what was the most difficult part of your healing journey? And then the other part of that question is, what did you anchor in? What was your why? So I'll let you think, Andrea. Mom, do you have an answer to that? So the most difficult part of your healing journey, and what was your why that you anchored into?
Okay. The radical change in diet was hard. I mean, it was automatic. I was driven though. I really was driven. I mean, it's a scary thing when you get a cancer diagnosis. So to me, it was life or death. I either had to follow it 100% or not. And I was familiar with the Gerson therapy, and I knew that they did coffee enemas. And that was the one thing I'm like, I'm going to do everything else, but I'm not doing the coffee enemas. There's no way I'm going to do the coffee enemas. And you know what? It isn't that bad. And you'd be surprised when you look into it. People do them all the time for detoxing, all the time. It's a lot more common than we think. We just don't talk about it. But yeah, 4 of those a day, 4 a day, and timing those when you're working 8 hours a day was difficult. Like I said, all the juicing, it was hard for me after drinking 13 juices a day to eat food because I was so full. But you do it. The other thing was just, cutting out the sugar, dairy. I didn't eat a whole lot of meat anyway, or dairy. I was eating plant milk, but the sugar was a hard thing. It was hard, and salt was another thing because it's not good for cancer. It actually coats that cancer wall, those cancer cells. And anyway, so yeah, I think salt was even harder than the sugar. The thing that I used that anchored me was a personal conviction that our bodies are created naturally to heal. Otherwise, when you get a broken bone or a cut or scrape, it wouldn't heal, right? So I personally have this strong conviction that it can heal. I just had to give it the tools that it needed. And so that's what I was doing. We have our own discernment for our own bodies, each one of us. And we need to tap into that and discern what's best for us. And if that means surgery, and alternative, then that's what it is. Nobody can tell you differently, but you have to know that. Don't just follow along like cattle. We do, because that's all, when you talk about cancer, it's chemo radiation. You don't hear about any alternatives. And I think there's an awareness that needs to be had so that people know that they have choices. They have choices, and we get to discern that for ourselves. So that's it.
And then what about you, Andrea?
Yeah, gosh, ditto so much of what you just said. That's why I love Chris Wark and other resources like him. There are other choices. The hardest part, I think, was really staying in tune and not sinking into fear.
Ooh.
Because cancer is scary. I lost my mom to cancer when I was 26 years old. And so having this come into my life was really freaking scary at the beginning. And when you get into the doctor's offices and all of that, and they want you to do all these things, and everything inside of me was saying, no, that's not the right choice for me. But do I want to let fear make my choice? Or do I actually trust them? Do they know what's best? Are they giving me good advice? You know, there's a lot to discern there. But really staying true to coming from a place of what do I want, what's best for me, and not giving into fear. Because at a stage 1 cancer diagnosis, I have time, I have choices. Again, I chose a more drastic surgery because I could have just done a lumpectomy. But then when you start going down the road of, well, what if they don't get good margins? What if this? What if there's cancer in other parts of my breast? You know, there's all these other things like, darn it, just take it off. And that eliminated radiation and chemo for me. So that was the best choice of that. But then they wanted me to go on to hormone blockers, and everything inside of me was like, that's not the right choice for me. But I had an oncologist that basically looked at me and said, I'm going to die if I don't take them. I went, okay, time to fire you. But when you're in that place, it doesn't feel like you have the power to fire a doctor. But once you get away from it and you're back home and you talk to your friends and, you know, you get some counseling from the people who love you, you realize, okay, this is under my control. So I think navigating that and not getting onto the fear bandwagon and being pulled along with it, because it's really easy to fall into that. So to remembering who I am and what is best for me, that's been the toughest part. The why that I've clung to is believing in health and healing from other directions. And what I kind of mean by that is cancer isn't just your body, you know, failing. It can be emotional, it can be environmental, it can be all these other things. And so what I chose to do was not just be like, all right, well, I'm going to have a surgery and then move on with my life. I'm going to attack it from every direction. And so I went into nutrition and red light therapy and fixing my water. And I went to a woman who runs Cancer Peace University, and I'll make sure to put the link to her website in here. And we did intense counseling into the origins of where cancer came into my life, from an emotional, from a trauma, from all of these places where fear lives in me and where past hurts have happened. And so I took it from all these different directions, and I really have done a lot of emotional work. So that's part of the why that I've clung to, is that there's more than one thing. There's more than one reason that this came to me. And then really like clinging to my support networks. When I'm not sure of my direction, when I'm not sure and that fear wants to come in, then it's connecting to my networks like Healing Strong, which is many of the people here tonight are from that group. That's where I gain a lot of my refresher of my why.
The support is so important. That is so important. That's one of the first questions I ask a client that I take on with cancer. Do you have support? And then if they do, I actually ask their support system to come to their appointments with them. Two things, I know we're kind of pressed for time, so I'll be quick here. Two things that you said that stood out to me is sometimes it is more emotional than it is about anything else, the healing. And like you heard my mom say, she actually ate pretty well. You know, not that I don't want anybody to get cancer, but out of she and my dad ate a Polynesian diet. You know, she is diet wise, she's not the one that I thought would get cancer, but she had a lot of grief. And she mentioned she lost 2 kids. And that I told her when she was first diagnosed, I'm like, we got to uproot that why. And you got to, honestly, if anybody needed to go ugly cry, like you need to go ugly cry, and that's part of your healing. You know, and sometimes that is where the healing begins. Not saying everybody needs to ugly cry. Maybe you do. I don't know. Crying is actually very detoxing, by the way. It truly is. So there's science behind that too. But then the other part of what you said, Andrea, is that you can actually choose your doctor. And that's a shocker to some people. I know we think that because they have the white coat and the degree, that they are a superior. And we tend to turn over a lot of our power to them because of that. But you're the one experiencing your symptoms. You're the one that gets to make the final call on what your healing journey looks like. And you know you better than them. Yes, they know medicine, not nutrition very well, but they know medicine and they can give you those options. But you do your research and then you come back, and if they push back, then like Andrea said, don't hesitate to get a doctor that will support you on your health journey, because really you're hiring them. You really
Can
are.
I add something?
Yeah, please do.
My first oncologist was pretty old. In fact, he retired a year into my healing, And so he was replaced by this young doctor that was a little more open to what I was doing. And I didn't get the pushback from him. He saw the progression. He saw that I was healing. At the very end, you know, just a year and a half ago, he said, I'm going to cut you loose. Everything looks great. And if, you know, reach out to me if anything changes, but you're good. And he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And so the first doctor would never have done that, because he would have had to admit that, you know, what he was suggesting failed and he didn't want to do that. But it makes a difference. Your doctor, your oncologist makes a difference.
Yeah. And back to when I said be selective, who's in your life and healing journey, I mean doctors too, very much so. Yeah. Last question for both of you. Do you have any other last words of wisdom, advice, or encouragement for everyone here?
We talked about detoxing, but we didn't talk about detoxing our surroundings, our cleaning, things that we clean with, our laundry detergent, our face care. They say that women in general, before they leave for work in the morning, they expose their skin to over 160 chemicals. You got to think about that when you're putting on shampoo, things on your face. Your skin is your largest organ in your body, and it will absorb all these toxins. So be really, really careful about what you are exposing yourself to. That's huge. Awareness.
There's a handful of, now there's some toxin-free cosmetics out there. I just threw one in there called Thrive. I actually went to high school with her, and you've probably heard of them by now. She's done really well, and she started because her best friend got cancer and they couldn't find anything that was toxin-free. That's how Thrive got started. That's why I threw it in there. And then Andrea, what about you? Any last words of wisdom, advice, or encouragement?
I mean, I guess I'll kind of kind of continue like what Patty just said, and then some of what I just said too, is that it's all the parts of your life. It's not just eating well. You know, a big piece of what Kahiki was talking about tonight was food and nutrition, because food is such a big piece of what nourishes us, and we can help our bodies by what we put in it and also what we don't put in it. But then what Patty just said is then there's everything else, right? There's our environment, what goes on our skin, what's in our air, what's in our water. Those of us who've had cancer are going to just be a little more sensitive to the things around us. Our body has a weak spot, and it started to break down, and now we need a little extra care for the rest of our lives. We need to do a little more maybe than the next person next to us to make sure that our body has the least amount of stress as well. But then it's part of what I was saying of, you know, is it emotional? You know, is there something from, you know, going on mentally, emotionally and stuff that, you know, needs some healing as well? It's not just about food. And we're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever path we choose through cancer is okay. That's our path. Whether we do chemo, radiation, whether we do all that stuff and we do the drugs, that's our path. We have to choose what's right for us. Or if we do none of that, right? That's our path. But then everything we've been talking about tonight still helps us no matter what direction we chose. Because if we do, because what if I do choose drugs someday? What if I do choose that someday? Maybe it's a different choice I make in the future. But everything we've talked about today helps us move through those things too. Helps us heal from those things. So, and how strong community is. Having other people. I am the first to say that I don't need help from anybody. And then I went on a retreat from Image Reborn a couple weeks ago and went, oh, yeah, I need help too. I get to have help too. So if you're one of those people that doesn't go looking for help or asking for help, you probably need some help too. So yeah, so connection with other people is really important.
Yeah, that's big.
Last thing, there are some books that I do recommend. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah.
I forgot to share that slide so you guys can snap a picture of it. I mean, I have a lot of books that I could, but these are some go-tos. If I was just diagnosed, I think these are pretty powerful. And when you read these, everything I said will make sense. You'll think I'm less crazy, I promise. And the science is in all of them. That first one, though, is this one. Pretty awesome. And you guys know Chris work again, Chris Beat Cancer. If you want to see more, like, get really sciencey about the why behind the plant-based and what it does, that's the China study. And then if you're interested in the Gerson therapy, which is what my mom did, that's this one. There's 2 of them on it, and you'll see that there. So, but yeah, hopefully some of this was helpful. Diffuse some of the fear and give you hope. It is possible to restore balance and heal. And I say that with confidence because I've seen it. So I will stop. If everybody got that picture, I will go ahead and stop sharing. And I don't know if you do follow-up emails, Andrea. If you do, I can send you this and that can go in there.
There are some people in here that I don't have their emails. A few people that are on their iPhone. I'm not sure who they are.
Oh,
Might not, especially from the Healing Strong group. I might not have their emails. But for anyone who is here and wants, you know, the follow-up, maybe the recording, I'm certainly going to give the recording to Colette, if that's okay with you, Kahiki. She's the group leader for Healing Strong. But yeah, anyone here who I don't have their email, please give it to me so that we can share information with you. So this is Kahiki's, the book recommendations, which are incredible. Kahiki, go to your next slide because this is the information about you. If people want to know more about Kahiki, so there's a very clear reason why I have brought her here to the Healing Strong group, but that's not the only people that are here. We opened this up to anyone else who wanted to join us because Kahiki and I both both have such an intense passion for food and what it can do for healing, aside from all the other things that are available to us. We also are very passionate about the other healing modalities like the therapies that she shared, like red light therapy. I mean, just getting out in sunshine outside. I mean, there's so many more we could talk about. Gerson came up, and coffee enemas. There are so many more. And a lot of you know that I've been going to Upgrade Labs and getting in the lymph massage. I've been getting in cryotherapy, and it's just changing my life. My next is going over to the Pure Sweat and Float, get in that float tank. So if you want any more connection with Kahiki, please take her information. I can also send this all to everyone via email as well. And as she mentioned, we are doing a food-based detox together in June. And we're really, really excited about it because detoxing is such a valuable tool for us, especially when junk kind of finds its way back into our life, especially whether it's through winter, whether it's just, you're out a lot and you're eating out a lot, or just snack foods end up back in your life. More coffee ends up in. I'm about to go to 2 weddings in a row in May. So I just know that the travel and stuff is going to change my diet. And so sometimes we just can use a bit of a detox, a bit of a cleanse. And not everyone really knows how to do it well. It doesn't have to be starvation and only water or only juicing, or it can be gentle. And so that the two of us have such a passion for food that we've created these 2 weeks for you. And Kahiki has taken the lead on the food part, and the menu and the smoothies we're going to be doing. And I'm going to be helping with how we just slowly wean off the coffee and all of that. So we still have a month before it ends, or sorry, before it starts. Now's a really good time to join us because it's a good time to start with the weaning off of things. And we've got 5 live calls, I think, during the 2 weeks. So you're going to have tons of support. So anyway, I just put the link in the chat here. And I know it's right at almost 8:30, which is when we would definitely end this. But there's still some of you on. Kahiki, do you want it? If anybody has questions, do you want to open it up?
Oh, I was going to add to something you said.
Yeah.
So Upgrade Labs, again, they have the infrared light, they have the lymphatic massage machines, and I talked to the owner just last week. Andrea and I both know him. Great people. And they said if we wanted to do, this group wanted to go there and have a meeting there, they would let us try out some of their stuff. So I know me showing you pictures of those things, like I said, I know they look a little crazy, but it'll diffuse some of the fear, and you can see how actually relaxing they are and how maybe even get some healing, So you guys know that was discussed and they're all for it. A field trip. Grown-up field trip. Here we go.
Yeah, the guys
energy
over at Upgrade Labs are so wonderful and warm and friendly. They were at Be Healthy, if any of you got to walk by them. But I love that. Yeah, we all could go have a meeting there together, and you can try out some of the machines and stuff.
Yeah, they're good guys. So they're all for us visiting and doing that little trial run. I mean, one of their names, Prosper. Enough said. So, but yeah, I have a second if anybody has questions. I know I threw a lot at you, but you can see why I couldn't leave any of that out, So I personally, if you go to my website, that's what that QR code is. On my website, you'll see I have a monthly webinar series that's called Using Food as Medicine. So I do a monthly webinar, and each webinar has a specific topic. And I cover basically what I cover today again. I go same thing, but in depth a little bit more in November. So if you ever want to revisit this, I'm doing it again in November on my own platform. So, you know, so again, the QR code will take you there. And then you'll also see the list of what each topic is for every month. It's the last Monday. It's a webinar, so it's online, comfort of your home, 7 p.m. the last Monday of every month. And then Andrea already told you about our detox, so you know, why not get going on that now? So yeah, that's really what I have coming up. But we're team health, you know, team health, team healing. And you know, I didn't have cancer, but I used to be 60 pounds overweight, so I had to restore health at one point. I figured that out. Figured out yo-yo dieting was not the way, and fell in love with nutrition in that process. So, and then went to school for it. So, but yeah, if anybody has questions.
Yeah, unmute yourself. Colette, I think you just unmuted.
Yeah, I was wondering, what are the dates of the detox, Andrea, in June?
Yeah.
June 3rd through the 17th. Okay, let me write that. I have it right in front of me. That's how I knew. So it's our summer detox. I'm putting it in the chat. June 3rd through the 17th.
Okay, and that link will give us more information, right?
Yeah. Do you guys see
Okay.
my screen now?
No, I still see
You still see Kahiki's? Okay.
Kahikis,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I need to stop sharing.
You stop your share.
Keep
I don't
doing
know if
that. There we go.
you see mine now.
I see yours. Does
Okay.
everybody see hers?
Does everybody else see the group detox?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this is like you said, we are starting on June 4th. We'll have a kickoff call. There's going to be 5 live calls with the two of us that are optional. You can show up to any of them if you need support, but we're going to have a very detailed, you know, day by day. Here's where we're going to wean off the inflammatory foods. Here's where we're going to start phase 1. Here's where we're going to start phase 2. Kahiki has some beautiful meals and menu plans for it. If you are here in the area, I'm going to be making the food for it as like an add-on. So I don't have a price for that part yet, but that's like a little bonus if you can't get the cooking done yourself. So definitely check this out and yeah, and join us. And Kahiki and I can talk about maybe a Healing Strong discount.
And I was thinking having a plant-based option for any of you that are going to be doing the
Anyone
detox.
plant-based only. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is